If you have any questions about my presentation and how we do this integration, we try to prepare students to do integrated curriculum. You have to have the mindset for it. You have to train the mind to do these connections. It doesn't happen just because you provide the materials to the students. It's a mental process. It's a cognitive mental process that requires creativity. It requires knowledge of the content areas. It requires, of course, being able to identify the specific topic for a classroom. Yes.
I wanted to. Yeah, Joel is raising a hand.
Yeah, can you go
Go
into
ahead.
a little bit? Hi, can you go into a little bit more detail of the how you get them to have the mindset? I've been working recently with a guy that works on what's called attentive teaching, uh, where they uh, ask a general question. What do you think an English teacher looks like? And then they ask people to draw a visual representation. Sometimes people don't draw; they forgot their crayons or their paper, so they pull some image off the internet that they described, and then after the visual representation, they have to uh, 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 describe some incident or some situation in the classroom that uh, reflects what they drew. Then they give workshops on conceptual change and mediation and a number of other things, and ask them to make another drawing and make another description. And there are amazing changes that
Oh.
go on in this. In any case, so I'm curious how you get people who don't have a mindset for changing and creativity. How do you get them to move, to change?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the process itself is a metacognitive process. So you have to make sure that your students are consciously thinking about their own thinking. So you have to also bring prior knowledge back to the forefront of their mindsets. So in one lesson, for example, it's very peculiar for Western culture, the Goldilocks and the Three Bears story. Um, um, for example, and I give them the story. I give them a video to listen to the story because sometimes listening to the story allows that content process to happen in the mind. I also provide the book itself for those who want to read it, and sometimes we even read it in front of the entire class. However, I try to make sure that students know about what the goal of the purpose of looking at a regular children's story that we have heard throughout our lives is about. But we want to take a look at it from a different perspective. So, and I tell them, what are the science concepts behind some of the behaviors that you see or the story pieces that you see in the book? So you have to be very conscious. I teach my science method, so I focus mostly on science. So, um, questioning process, we go through a questioning process from very general to very specific, for example, and then we go to the part of the book where Goldilocks enters the house and see the three bowls of soup. One is hot, one is very hot, and the other one was just right. So, and I begin the process of asking the students what are the major differences between the three bowls. And we talk about, for example, the volume of the bowls, the surface area of the bowl of the soup. So, but you have to lead them into thinking about those little pieces. I imagine that they have also have had soup before. Do they use a wide bowl? Do they use a narrow bowl, a deep or shallow bowl? And those are questions that lead them to think, so maybe the volume of the bowl and the surface area of the bowl has an impact on how fast or slow the soup cools. So, but you have to lead the students through that process. So, it's a questioning process. You have to measure specifically how much they can see. I cannot give you percentages because it happens just in the instant, but you have to have a sequence of questions already prepared before the class in order for you to point out without telling them, which is very hard to do sometimes. You want for them to come up with the idea about volume and surface exposure, etc., but you don't tell them exactly. So you provide the opportunities through questioning for them to figure out the specifics of the science process there. So, and that's just an example. But it has to be repeated. It has to be repeated throughout the process. It has to be a questioning process that they need to learn. We also do micro teaches in our classroom in which they test their own skills on how to provide questions without telling the students their concepts. Our final exam, for example, in my course this semester, is that they have to do a discrepant event without telling the students what the content is. But they have to lead them through observation, through prior knowledge to the content that they want to see. And the same strategy applies to teaching teachers how to teach. You have to lead them into the content without letting them find out the content from the start. If I tell them, well, let's take a look at the Goldilocks and the three bears and talk about surface exposure, heat release, and volume, I already killed the entire activity. I need them to begin the process of questioning themselves,
So I
making those
guess
connections. And I don't.
so I guess AI will
Yeah, go
help.
ahead.
I guess the use of AI will help do that, like asking a follow-up questions. Like if you use a co-pilot, for example, or chatbot, you always have this communication, talking, chatting, chat with a generative AI so that you keep the conversation going on. So that's amazing. And I just wanted to add something. Maybe it has to do with the actions-based research, like the pedagogy, like teaching the why, like you're thinking about why you're doing certain things and how you're doing them more than what you want to teach. So that makes the entire difference. That's my perspective. We have 1
Yes,
minute.
I have
okay.
I
Any other
also wanted to
questions?
ask
Sorry.
I have
just a
another
short
question.
We also have
Oh,
another
go ahead,
question. Yeah.
Lynn. Go ahead. Our guest first. Go ahead.
Okay, I think that this is about this involves disciplinary learning, which I see involve knowledge and application. But my question is, how do you approach fostering research skills, especially in case of STEM? For example, did you involve the project-based learning or collaborative research? Cross-disciplinary methodology. Kilo, how did you involve this in your application, in your practice?
Oh, of course. Many of our strategies are constructivist in nature. So, for example, the Vitruvian Man unit, it's a project-based process. It cannot happen in one lesson. So you have about 3 or 4 days where we need to measure ourselves, take a good measurement of our arms, our legs, our head, our necks, etc. And then we make that table, the measuring process happens, and then we go and do ratios. So if we want to build a statue of wire, made out of wire of this size, how much wire do we need? How long would the wire be in order for
So
us
they
to
can
do many of
research,
those things?
so children can research it
Yes.
and yeah, Fantastic.
Let me say something about AI. Our students are so afraid to use AI in our classrooms. Have been very surprised that they are so afraid. I'm not sure if Hollywood have had any impact on why they don't want to use AI. Many of them refuse to do AI because they think that they're going to be
Here
recorded
we don't
forever.
want them to do it, but they do it.
They need they need an instrumental motivation. That's what
Oh,
they need.
yes. In my
They have
English
to
language
reason to
learners,
do
for
it.
example, oh,
Yeah.
yeah. In my English language learners already mentioned that the final is to produce a project designed by AI. Of course, they have to polish it and refine it, but they have to, I provide the goals and they have to use AI in order for them to provide an ELL, an English language learning project for the students in a classroom situation, but they're so afraid to use AI. So,
So,
and even with their phones at hand, they don't even do the research. If they don't know a term or they don't know a concept, they don't bother to look. So I'm not sure. Sometimes I have to tell them, get your phone out, get your computer out. Can you please research mitochondria and see where
so
the
they
word
learn it
is?
from
Yeah.
context, maybe. They learn it from context. They don't need a dictionary, maybe. Okay, I think that's we don't have time, Verit, right? So
We don't, just
we
to
don't.
mention, yeah, just to ask
Yes.
Renee whether the structure of the stories, the children's stories, the book that you showed, is narrative structure.
Sometimes the nature of the story, it's not integrated. It's not the new question if it's integrated.
Yeah,
Uh, yeah, it's just the story.
okay.
So it doesn't explicitly say, hey, I have this science activity. Sometimes it does. In my folder that I shared the link for, there is a worksheet that we do. It has about 15 or 20 books that we provide access to our students. And of course, it's a worksheet where the students on one side can begin to look for science, mathematics, engineering, or even art connections to that book. So you can use it if you want to, or access. I think the hyperlink of the title takes you to the Amazon. Sorry, I'm not sure if that would be, but you can probably get the citation from there too. So. Um,
Thank you. Thank you very much. I hope I can see everyone here next year also.
Yeah,
And
thank you so much.
we're excited.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for the opportunity. And I am so sorry if I didn't answer some additional questions on the
I had two
floor. So,
questions. I'll send you an email if you share your email.
oh, definitely. Let me
Yeah.
put it on my chat.
Mm.
Um,
We really appreciate the unique perspective you've shared with us.
You have articles that you've written that we could look at too?
I can send you an article about the Vitruvian Man that I wrote for a magazine. Yes. So please, here's my email, picora@westminster.edu. I mean, oh, not .com, it's .edu. So that's the wrong email. My apologies.
Are you sending it in the chat?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Thank you.
Westminster.edu. There it is, the correct one. The first one is not, sorry, it's not .com. It's .edu. I'll be glad to answer any questions and share my materials with you.
Okay,
So
thank you so much.
maybe chat even outside at some other time.
sure,
So,
I
and I'll bring a
understand.
copy of the Growing Up Wild curriculum for you next time I travel. So
Thank you. You are most welcome, and please thanks your students.
I
Behalf of,
will.
please
It
thank you.
was
Thank
it was very hard for them. Oh, it's my last day. No, I
No,
can't,
it's
you know.
okay, and they're shy. We can understand. Don't worry. Okay.
Thank you so
Okay,
much.
Jared.
Thank you
Yeah,
for the
thank you so much.
opportunity.
Yeah,
Bye
thank you.
Thank you,
bye.
Samia. Thank
Bye.
you, everyone, for taking part.
Yeah, now Vered will you will conclude the
That's it.
session.
That's
Thank
it.
you.
Let's let everyone go to drink some tea,
Yeah.
dinner. I think that's enough.
Yeah, Vered, I wanted to hear from him, but we didn't have time about how important it is to engage young researchers in order to build the community to enhance a research field. So I was
We
really
can do it
thinking
with him
about it.
later. We can do a session. We can invite him to English department also, and we can think about this
Yeah,
together.
send me the email address and I contact him for sure.
Sure.
Thank you, everybody. It was amazing.
Thank
you.
you.
Good night.
See you next year.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
Night.
Thank you. Bye.
Night.
Bye. Bye.